which organ do you use for taste? Well, it's your tongue, of course. And so I'm going to go for a very, very, very quick anatomy of the tongue. So the tongue is divided developmentally and anatomically into an anterior 2/3 and a posterior 1/3, separated by the sulcus terminalis, which is this V-shaped groove here. At the apex of the sulcus terminalis is the foramen cecum, and the reason that this thing is here is because back in the day, what used to be here now has gone and become the thyroid gland. It's descended down the neck and become the thyroid gland embryologically. On the front of the sulcus are these valate papillae, which are these things here. And then on the more anterior parts of the tongue, you can actually see the fungiform papillae and the filiform papillae. So the difference between these is that the fungiform papillae are rounded at the top, whereas the filiform papillae are kind of pointy at the top. So if we look back to behind the tongue, you can see that there will be these things here, which are actually lingual tonsils, and so that plays a role in your immune system and your lymphatics. And then you've also got the epiglottis, which is this thing here with these pink depressions. And so what the epiglottis does is it's like a flap. When you swallow, obviously you don't want to swallow food into your lungs, so the epiglottis closes off the pathway to your lungs and then allows food to go down your esophagus instead. The tongue receives a motor supply from the hypoglossal nerve. In other words, it's the hypoglossal nerve that lets it move. And then it receives a sensory supply from the... the sensory supplies are quite interesting. The anterior 2/3 of the tongue, is supplied by the lingual nerve, and then the taste fibers travel in another nerve called the chorda tympani. The posterior 1/3 of the tongue, doing it in a different color here, that's supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. And then there's a small part of the tongue also near the epiglottis that's supplied by the internal laryngeal branch of the vagus nerve. I think it's about here. And so that's the nervous supply of the tongue. Anterior 2/3 by lingual nerve, but taste fibers by chorda tympani. Posterior 1/3 by glossopharyngeal nerve, and a small part of the tongue near the epiglottis by the internal laryngeal branch of the vagus. And so that's the tongue.